Hey, what's up, New Zealand and the world? Lucas Lawman's Kiwi voice. Sorry, what was your surname, Jack?
Well, the first name is
And the second name is Wizard.
Wizard of NZ.
Yes, okay.
That's legal for 20, 30 years.
Okay.
That's my real name.
Right, okay.
Like Muhammad Ali was his real name,
Yep.
not Cassius Clay.
Yes, cool. Okay, we'll go with that. Excellent. All right. Hey, what's up, New Zealand and the world? Lucas Lawman's Kiwi voice, sitting with the Wizard of New Zealand, running for Mayor in Christchurch. For those of you that did not know, really awesome to be sitting with you, Wizard. Really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us.
I need someone to publicise that I'm standing. That's what I'm so happy to do that, because
Yes.
it's not been done.
Yes, absolutely. So tell us a bit about what's motivated you to run.
Well, it's the end of my life. I'm getting old now. I'll be the oldest candidate probably in the history of New Zealand mayoral politics, let alone anything else.
Yeah.
I'm approaching 90. But I've been so censored and so cut out of all discourse in New Zealand, as if I'm not here.
Right.
The City Council and all the tourist authorities in New Zealand are saying there is no wizard in New Zealand and no wizard in Christchurch. Not out loud. When they ask, there used to be, he's retired, or he's living in Oamaru. I'm here every day in my full regalia and good weather. Trams go by, I get selfies, all the tram people, blessing all the children, do all the jokes and fun things. All the trams got, so they know I'm here.
Yes.
And they see me go by in the street. I'm in the city centre so much. But they're saying I'm not here because in another country they have even worse laws. I'd have been put in jail for saying what I'm saying.
Quite possibly.
Which
yes.
is the monarchy is the most important institution we have right now.
Yes.
Without the constitutional monarchy, we'd be like Joe Biden's America right now, or Putin's Russia, or Xi's China. That's what we'd be like, but for our established monarchy and the British traditions, which are very ancient and very, very important, and they're being thrown away and dismissed. But now that the Queen's passed, there's been a huge resurgence. People are realising that party politics is bad news. It's always nasty, it's lying, it's treacherous. They will fight, and you have to have fights and arguments. I agree with that. But they shouldn't be seen as the only thing, and that something above them is somehow, you talk about religion or some supernatural rubbish like that.
Yeah. Yeah, you've got, yes.
Supernatural rubbish works. Just look at what's happened all over Northern Ireland. The leader of the Sinn Féin is now Speaker of the House of Assembly in Northern Ireland. And there he is, congratulating King Charles and saying what condolences he feels for that wonderful woman. She was an amazing woman, but she was one in a million, because the only person I think who was like her is the Dalai Lama. The only person who has that weird personal quality which no one understands. But if she had to go into party politics, this wouldn't have happened. None of this would have happened.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. So, I mean, if you were to be successful, are you running just for mayor or for council as well?
Just mayor. No,
just mayor.
I'm not. I couldn't do a councillor job. I don't like committees.
Yes, I understand. So if you were successful and getting in, what would be the things that you'd love to tackle first? Whether that's a broader issue or that's actual the day-to-day stuff? The
biggest problem is New Zealand is an empire, an internal empire. Wellington has got more powers over people all over New Zealand than the British Empire had over their citizens and subjects in New Zealand. Far more power, and it's far more brutal, and it's far more oppressive. We are now ruled by a government so dictatorial that they're deciding things that our local government should be deciding are not decided. They let them talk about them, then they overrule them. Look at the earthquake. Did we have any say in the big anchor projects? And where were they going to be? In the middle of a city? You put a bloody stadium, you put a huge conference centre, which will lose. They're both going to lose money. Whose money are they going to lose? Our money. But who's going to make money? The guys swanning around with their mates in the sporting clubs and all their vulgar music or disgusting behaviour and their ugly clothes. They're going to be the elite of New Zealand. The elite, I can't look up to them. The monarchy, yes. I cannot look up to these thugs who are party bosses and they pay marriage to betray their own people and roll over for them and give them a rubber stamp now and again. I've seen it everywhere. It's disgusting and upsetting. So, okay, I didn't want to be in politics. I don't like it. But I did find my own party in 1972.
Oh, right.
Which was to preserve the constitutional monarchy, which no one was keen to preserve.
Okay. Yeah.
If you get rid of the constitutional monarchy, we've had it. We've completely had it. And they'd love to do it. And Jacinda Ardern is, of course, one of the clones of Klaus Schwab in Davos. She's a clone. And all because of the conversion to this great idea of destroying all the currencies in the world and having everything in the computer run by Klaus Schwab, who is my only real rival. He is a wizard.
Yes.
He began the same time as I did.
Yep.
He has a strange power over people.
Yes.
And they all become terrified of the end of the world. They all become terrified of independent nations.
Yes.
Frightened to death of any sign of life. And they're completely boring people like Trudeau.
Yeah.
You couldn't be... Black-faced lunatic asses. Now he's become the great messiah. And he's done terrible things to Canada.
Really
it's a
terrible
lovely
things.
country.
Really terrible
I've
things.
seen Canada go from one of the great countries in the world with freedom of speech and less sense of humour and a great record in international relations to turn into a dictatorship. It is now a dictatorship.
It really is.
I'm terrified it comes to New Zealand. Australia's heading that way, but there's other people there, and they've got a lot of humour there, which is really good. They're a very tough lot, though, the old Aussies, and the Spectator has kept that tradition going very well.
Yeah, I think the thing with Australia is, yes, the way that their parliament is formed, they've at least got some voices that are completely on the other side. We're seeing much less of that in New Zealand. At least a lot of the followers out there in Kiwi Voice seem to feel the same way. There isn't. You're correct.
The national party isn't in politics. They just want the money and the car and the easy life. They don't the least interest in what's happening. They don't care about the Queen or Republic or anyone else. They'll go where the nice lifestyle is. They're not political at all. They're lazy. Labour is political.
Yes.
And the difference is very great. One lot really want to push these things. So the other guy, I don't want to make too much fuss. No, I might lose a seat. Except for ACT is doing a slightly better job. It's halfway there.
Yes.
So I don't see New Zealand. There's no answer in our normal political system here. It must come from outside the political system, which is what I intend to do. I thought I'd give them a chance by standing for mayor. Then they'd say, this is the man who's probably got the highest profile of anyone in New Zealand since the 1970s. I'm known overseas. Everyone knows that it's an astonishing achievement. To be appointed wizard by a prime minister, that was an achievement. But before that, I was appointed wizard by university academics administrators.
Yep.
And then after that, of course, we got the whole situation of becoming a sort of folk hero because I keep defying bureaucrats and their obnoxious diktats.
Yep.
And not for bad reasons, for good reasons. The artists have been bought. They won't have anything to do with me, and I'm the only person really doing stuff that's really different in the art form by being a living work of art. I'm the only one in the world. But the artists don't want that. They want the government grant. They'll do anything for a government grant.
Yes.
Can you imagine any artist doing anything to criticise women and their behaviour? If you did, you'd not only be not getting a grant, you'd be handed out of town. But if you make it out bad men are toxic, evil males, you're going to get government grants pouring down on you. There was sexism in the arts. There's a disgusting racism in the arts. Maoris are naturally better people than Scots, Welsh, Irish. It's ridiculous. It depends very much on what they do right now. Because if you look at the past, how bad the British Empire was, at the same time, the Maoris had slaves and they were cannibals. I can forgive that, but they can't even look back. Well, in 1823, this guy got shot there. He was hung. If anyone oppressed the Aboriginals or the Maoris in New Zealand, they were treated, in most cases, by the law and either hung or locked up.
Right.
No other country did that. No other nation did that. No other empire did that. We had the most wonderful empire, the best period in world history then. It was an incredible period of living out of misery and suffering. They got good food. The health was improved. All sorts of learning, if they wanted it, libraries, all done in the 19th century. And we're throwing it all away fast. We're turning our kids into robots, programmed robots. I got to university yesterday to talk to students. Yep. They were like puddings. I made outrageous statements. Now, they should be up on their seats shouting either to shut me down or to praise me, but it was neither.
Yeah,
right.
They
were dead. They shouldn't be there at all. Why are they there? They don't know why they're there.
Yeah.
They're victims. The bastard academics want their money. It's a fundraising activity. Exploit the kids, make them go to university, give them useless degrees, and then they're in debt. Wonderful. Or they will cancel the debts by using the ordinary working man's money to pay the debts of people who shouldn't be there in the first place. God, it is all a joke. So that's why I regard life as a comedy.
Yes, right.
And myself as a comic actor. And you can see I do that.
Yes.
I have never been known to take myself seriously.
Which is a good way to be. You have to be that.
And I got up in the square, gave my great speeches. Everyone was laughing, rolling about the place, and I was teasing them. And at the end of the speech, I'd call out, "What do you think of it so far?" And the entire crowd would shout back, "Rubbish!" and walk them wise. And I quite agree with him.
Yes.
But why not? It's good rubbish. I don't claim to take the truth. It's just the other guy is lying more than I am.
Yeah.
My theory is I may not tell the truth, but everyone else is lying more than I am.
Yep. Fair enough. Fair enough.
So I don't want to be God, you see.
Yeah.
Only God knows the truth. I don't want to become. I don't. Being a deity doesn't appeal to me.
Right. Fair enough.
It's like the Emperor Vespasian. He was a mule trader who became emperor of Rome because he was a brilliant warrior. And then he was dying because the Roman emperors all become gods when they die. He said, "Oh dear, I think I'm becoming a god."
Goodness gracious.
What a state! What a last words.
Yes. Hey, look, so just one thing you did, we were exchanging emails and we had a brief conversation on the phone as well. Well, actually, it went for about 15 to 20 minutes. It was really lovely to talk to you. But you sent me, you tried to get an ad for your campaign on Facebook and it was declined. So go into that. What was that about?
Everything I've done has been declined. If I write to the press, they don't publish my letter.
Right.
Even though they're fairly accurate about certain, not my own personal this.
Yeah.
The press has now put out a number of articles on the candidates.
Mm-hmm.
2 candidates are real.
Mm-hmm.
The other just also ran, and some of them are so. One's pretty mad.
Mm-hmm.
One's a really dangerous crook. It shouldn't be wandering around getting his street cred. Good, he's getting street cred out of this one. And then the others 2 just go every few years to get their name. I don't know why they're doing it, but they're causing disruptions to the campaign because they're being. We go to campaign meetings. And we all give them the same time each. Now, 3 or 4 of us are proper candidates. I think I'd say 4. But the others have just nothing to do with it. And yet they're being given the same treatment. I'm just another minor candidate. Name recognition. Mm-hmm. Neither of those candidates have a tenth of my name recognition. Nothing like a tenth. So I don't also run just a wannabe. And then the other thing is skill. I've run that many things. I'll give you on this bit of paper I put out what I've been.
Yep.
I was flying wing adjutant to 2 squadrons of meteor jets at the famous Duxford Airport in England, 1950s. Commercial rep for a firm of paper merchants in London, and I've done a bit of commercials, I've not very long, a few years. Yeah. English lit teacher for the British Council and University of Tehran. I was teaching English at the University of Tehran.
Right.
Tehran. First culture affairs officer at English. I was the only person ever to think students needed a bit of culture, a bit of political discussion, debate, and music and films. And there was no one doing it, just social events and sport. Lots of money for them. So I got a whole lot together, we stood together, and they voted for me to be the cultural affairs officer. So on a student union, the first one to specialise in culture, which was wasting my final year when I should have been studying more harder, doing sociology as my special subject, not Marxism. True, so Marx is a political scientist who believes the end of the world is coming, which means the state will wither away. When they get all the power, they're going to wither away. How can anyone believe a damn sight God will come along and all be all right? That's madness to believe in Marxism. Yeah. That's this kingdom of heaven stuff. And then, of course, this happened. I got this training I got. There I was, I was now 30, almost 30, and there was no postgraduate work, no grants available to anyone over 30. None at all.
Right.
So I couldn't find any work. And I do now. I find it interesting. Luckily, the University of Western Australia had just advertised for a post of Cultural Affairs Administrator for the Adult Education Board, which is University of Western Australia. And they hadn't found anyone in the entire Commonwealth who had any experience in organising cultural events on a university, except me, and I just graduated. All right then. So I became a fully tenured lectureship in the University of WA just when I finished university, in a few weeks. It's ridiculous. Suddenly from nobody to a backpacker, to the odd job teaching, bang, here I am in this very high position, running the Festival of Perth. Now, if you want to run something big, it was huge, the oldest one by far, and it's not made up of big celebrities coming in, it's local theatre groups, local music groups, all making their own things and bringing a few people in. Festival of Perth had an immense reputation, and I only had a one-person administrator, one secretary, and a part-time use of a financial business side. That's all we had. Everyone else we ran it for us. So we know how to delegate. You can run huge affairs by delegating. We thought the royal family does. Everything happens is their delegation. Nothing will happen in the British Commonwealth anywhere at all, unless in British institutions in the UK, unless someone rubber stamps it at the very top. So you get that. Okay, rubber stamp it, and that's what you do. Then it goes down the line, which I can see happens. We could do this with the Christchurch City Council. We could halve the salaries of most of the executives, not the poor blokes who do the work, and cut the numbers by half, and it would really improve enormously. We've seen it happen before. Bureaucrats employ other bureaucrats to make themselves important and to protect themselves and to create. And this is a noise creating. Now, I'm running my whole life on one or two people, like Al Sami, all my events, I do all the stuff. It's all been done with no grants from anybody, no help, no taxpayers' money, no ratepayers' money for 20 years. Then they said, "You've done all this for us. You would have an honorarium." I said, "Yes, I'd love an honorarium, like a poet in residence, or a painter in residence, or a musician. I'd like to be a wizard in residence, which means you don't tell me what to do all the time. You trust me to carry on as I am now," because they knew I could be poached by another council. Another, "Yeah, look, wizard, we want a wizard. You're doing a good job there. Christchurch doesn't do anything good at all." When they stopped mentioning my name and denied I existed, that's when I got more like myself. I'll give them a few more years. I waited. Nothing came. I wrote. Nothing came. The square, they wouldn't help me start again the square. No use. So I went to the Arts Centre, tried to work with them. They're run by a trust, not a council. They still don't care either. They're too busy making money out of a hotel and all things. To see that is now the cultural centre of not only Christchurch, but New Zealand. This was the first truly cultured city. They had the first university academic who was rather like me. If you read about that man, Alexander, that was Bickerton, he is very much like me, and he came as the first academic, and the place went up in smoke. It was hilarious. The fun they had. In the end, they managed to get rid of him. They managed to shove him out. He started this fun fair on the seaside and had a zoo, a special new. He also was in reforming the family structure. It was a bit over the top. The men had such awful, brutal ways in those days. So he did a lot of good things at Bickerton. So I'm a bit like him. So Christchurch was then the only city with a bishop. We were the first city in New Zealand. We were the tops. They made money in Auckland. They made money in Wellington. They passed. But we were the real place. And now we're treated like the lowest of the low. They despise Christchurch. And the people who do well here are right in bed with the people in Wellington and Auckland. They're not interested in the city at all. They don't even know the history. This city wasn't founded by ordinary human beings. It was founded by a bunch of dreamers. These were the English Romantic movement who hated the industrialisation, all the smoke and the filth, and produced this whole new vision to live in somewhere else, away from Napoleon, away from Hitler later on, of course, into another world in the South Seas, where they had a nice arable land, where they could build a civilization where farming was really important, and where the skilled workers, the no trade unions, but there were professions. People acted in their own. So you let doctors decide who they're going to give free medicine to, and not the state.
Yes, right.
But when the state takes over, they become a gigantic, bossy nanny. Everything you do, we're treated like infants and we behave like infants. I want them to grow up and start living their own lives again. And they can do that, because I learned that in the Boy Scouts, and I'm sure we can do that. I had an idea of all the people that are out of work because they're going to take out. If I could do this, if he could get rid of half the public service, they could go into places like the holiday camps in Heidi High, where they recover their wits by having fun, because they're quite insane. They look in their eyes, you know that. So you give them lots of fun, lots of jokes, knobby knee contests, all that sort of silly jokes and dance and things. And then after a few weeks, they say, now you're going to learn about agriculture. We're going to give you a little allotment each. You're going to learn how to grow things, because the world is coming to a crisis so great. We're going to have to start growing our own food. I know they don't believe me, but I can see ahead, people can't. So we have to grow our own food.
Some people do. There's plenty of people that understand where you're coming from.
But now, sometimes I've had something to say worth hearing. Now, I may be wrong, but I'm not allowed to appear. No, nothing. I can't even get an advert on it. I can't get a letter to the paper. Whenever they advertise their candidates, there's just two candidates. One is a public servant, the other one is a businessman who made money from the earthquake. I'd rather like Major, because at least he's experienced the bureaucracy and he's been horrified by what he found. Whereas one of mates is just another public servant concerned with mental health. They're making the mental health worse by everything they do. Lockdowns, children in schools and master. This is destroying them. And they say, we will give you all this money for it, but then you're going to pay more psychologists who've been trained in one-to-one interaction, when human beings don't have minds of their own. We live in a collective mental state. And if you get the whole thing to go up, like the Queen has done recently, the whole place undergoes therapy. The Queen has done huge amounts of therapy just by being there. It's enough.
Yes. So you're very much, for what I can pick up from that, is that you're very much for shrinking the, the size of the bureaucracy, the governmental side of things, whether that's a local council or central, and just providing more power back to the people. Is it a fair statement?
They wouldn't shrink it. You make it hierarchical.
Yes.
You need proper, independent little democracies in every small place.
Yes. Yep.
And then they work up from there. You don't have it all in one big place or demolish it. That'd be terrible. Be like happened in Russia, and then you got rid of communism. Never know that to happen. All the oligarchs move in then.
Right.
No, we need I love feudalism. Yeah. And our society is funny. The British aristocracy is a feudal structure, family-based, honour-based. You pledge allegiance. You're judged by your honour. If you make mistakes, you get exposed. You're in terrible trouble. So the pressures on Andrews getting back. I say Andrews there. He may be humiliated and have to wear a suit, but he said, I'd rather with my family be laughed at than be thrown to the wolves again. He's been torn asunder, that poor man. He wasn't smart. He thought he was a good, courageous man, fought in the Falklands, all that stuff, but no. So this is what would happen. We'd have a hierarchical structure. The committee structures do work, but they're very limited in what they can do, and they need ceremony, far more ceremony, and not people arguing all the time and enjoy the power they get from demolishing other people's ideas. That isn't the way it's done. You do most of it beforehand anyway. And those who can get a committee done, and like Leanne, quite good at getting work done quickly, and the committee structure over. And that's a skill I didn't have. I could never do it. It never shut me up. It'd be terrible. I had to stay outside the door because I get so worked up anyway.
Yes.
And being worked up is my main activity. I love getting worked up. But that's what wizards do. We like, Yosemite Sam just explodes all over the place. Yeah. But I have another trick up my sleeve. It's all faith. Underneath, I'm the road runner.
Okay.
Beep, beep. And off he goes with these plots. And look at him. He's in the sense of, look at him, he's been worried about women. We're going to get him. And beep, beep, I'm off again. They can't find a single hole in my armour. Yeah. If they could have done that, I'd have been exposed by now.
Yes.
If they've got to get rid of me, I'm terrible news. I disprove all they believe in. I'm a constitutional monarchist, but everybody else is at the top wants a republic.
Yes.
I want less pay to bureaucrats and more pay to actually do the skilled people. Yep. And they want the opposite. They want more and more. 560,000 for a CEO who has no crisis at all, nothing about the place.
Comes straight from England, I think.
Yes, it was New Yorkshire, which is a music like that, I might agree. But then she goes, so save money, I know, we can save 16,000 a year by getting rid of the wizard. Right, goodbye, wizard. But why? What do you do? Have I committed a crime? Am I failing my job? You've got the wrong vibes. That got me, because it's exactly true. I have got the wrong
for
vibes.
them, yeah.
No hatred, no envy, no malice, no seeing men as toxic males. None of that silly nonsense. None of this business of saying that children should be the same, males and females. And I didn't get finally end up being some hermaphrodite weirdo mixture. So all this stuff. And of course the demolishing of the youth groups like the Boy Scouts, the Girls Brigade, and the Girl Guides, which are so important. In Northern Ireland they were flourishing. I couldn't see them there were so many Girl Guides and Scouts and Boys Brigades. At last there's a country that knows that young people need to be given discipline and structure and uniforms they can be proud of.
Yes.
But it mustn't become the Nazis got rid of the Boy Scouts and put their own people in. The Homage did the same. They all do it. But we've pioneered the idea that youth love to wear uniforms and do what they're told. Right. Now, if you can get that to do that to them, think of the relief to the parents if their children could be controlled at all.
Yeah, that's the thing, yeah.
They're too busy on their cell phones and becoming addicted, looking at porno stuff on the...
Yes, it is. I've got a 14-year-old and 11-year-old daughters and two stepdaughters, same ages as well. And and it's a constant worry. It's a constant battle. Thinking about these things. So, so is that why you think you haven't got the publicity? Where you've had the ads denied on Facebook? Why you're struggling to get any other publicity?
I criticise Pressco. Yeah. Pressco's got newspapers all over New Zealand, and they've deliberately made a big fuss of not letting me get any publicity whatsoever.
Right.
That was deliberate. This is what I call democracy dies in darkness.
Yeah.
They want to destroy democracy. I accuse this government of hating democracy. And the media, who are financed by this government, the amount of money paid to the newspapers and television, but taken from us by taxes, is then put in to make them follow the party line. And they can go like that, master good, master off, master on, master off, which is right, oh, yeah, we're right.
Yep.
Our health department has let us down by lying about what the disease represented. Universities have lied to us about the nature of man and woman, and they've got all these weird neo-Marxists with their ideas of destroying civilization because it's evil. Replacing it with what? You mean probably a small group of people, including President Xi, maybe, and South Africa. And we can name the number of people, about half a dozen, and we'll own nothing. Why won't we own anything? Because they'll own it all. Now, if nobody owned anything, we'd back hand together. So I like that idea. Nobody owns it. But when those guys own everything, including us, we're slaves, and it's coming very, very fast. Watch for the Great New Reset. But they failed. I think they failed because this royal occasion has been so massive all over the world, the vibes have shifted away from hate and fear towards love and trust. And when you shift from hate and fear to love and trust, what a wonderful word it would be.
Yes.
And if people in the press loved their wizard and trusted me, I could do wonderful things for New Zealand. So much. Think of the advertising. I know having a wizard here who does these marvellous things. Give me 1% of what they give to the arts to hate men and hate the government and hate this and hate the parkyards. If they gave me 1%, I could do wonderful things. Shows that I've done all these things in the counterculture in the 1960s on my own with the counterculture. We did a lot of stuff in those days. The hippie type period. That was a very interesting period for creativity on the Sullivan Oil land. We did lots of stuff with no government grants.
So
people didn't come there because of a government grant.
So do you think that this, so you've mentioned that a couple of times, do you think that the passing of the Queen really has created a shift that's going to potentially change things in some way in terms of the way the world's been going?
It's happening already, though. We can see it happening. The Spectator, which has publications in Australia, New Zealand, America, America, UK, is covering all this stuff. They're wonderful writers. They're not left or right. They're what you might call the aristocracy of journalists. And they've been so good. So if you get the Spectator online, you can find out that they're covering the most amazing amount of corruption going on. It is stunning.
Right.
And the brutality of the communists, the brutality of what's happening in China. You must mention, you must say, how bad British Empire was in 1850. They imprisoned about... Meanwhile, in the genocide, that's fine. Stealing American secrets, that's fine. Getting into our government and bribing politicians, that's okay. Don't worry about that. They're no threat. No threat? China? The only good thing about China is it's beginning to fall apart from the way that they've tried to handle their property because to make the people get rich quickly. They're not doing it right. There's been awful problems going on in China. Just stay away from them and tease them now and again. When they're rude to you, be rude back and see what happens. They go crazy. They're so rude about us. And you mentioned one slight criticism.
So, I mean, they're obviously still focusing heavily on COVID-0 and treating their citizens just
They're silly fools. They believe their own bullshit. When you do that, you're in trouble. They say, we only did this to control people. Now it's time to stop controlling because we can't manage. It's expensive. I mean, all these people with uniforms on checking everything, every passport, every document, looking at everyone's email. It's incredibly hard to do that.
Checks and all that.
You haven't got any. The result of having a government like East Germany under Stasi is that you're spending most of your money on controlling the people, and you can't give them any consumer goods. And that eventually goes down the tube. Look, this is ridiculous. We're not poor people like they are in India in some parts, and quite happy. They had all this income, but it went into surveillance and control and policing.
Yes. So, what are your thoughts now with obviously the dropping of all the whole COVID situation? Eventually, the Labor government has finally let go of that last little bit of control that they've had. Do you think any of that's going to come back? Do you think that society will go back to, at least in New Zealand, go back to some sort of normality? Or
it could do if we have an opposition party. We haven't got an opposition.
Yes.
I regard the National Party as just getting money and not saying anything. And so I regard them as completely pathetic. You've got bullies and you've got cowards.
Yeah.
The National Party are cowards, and the Labour Party are bullies. It's as simple as that.
Yes, right. Do you think, what are your options for, if people are thinking the same way, and I know a lot of our followers do think that same way, that they're, wings of the same bird, and not really a good option, where would you
In
send your vote?
1972, I saw this coming in 1972. Look back at my history. I've been seeing this coming and saying it since 1969. I founded my own political party, the Imperial British Conservative Party, which did not accept economic determinism as a kind of gospel, or even religious determinism either. It's just you do the best you can with what you've got. And it was saying basically that we could run government much more economically if it didn't base the whole thing on massive taxation and the massive welfare state. Now, there are some people who always need help. They can't cope. And you need a safety net. What you don't need is to say, I can run your life better than you can.
Yes.
I'm a teacher. I know better and more about children and sex than you do, you stupid woman. Get out of my way.
Yeah.
This bullying. We're just like on a farm. We're domestic animals. And the farmers are just producing cages. They feed us. They give us water. And they inject us in various ways, but they collect all the eggs. They get all the eggs.
Yes.
So then the eggs go into their beautiful, sumptuous lifestyles. Look at the COVID business. Everyone else had any small business is now bankrupted. Their life savings gone. Maybe in debt. May have lost their houses. What did public servants give up?
Nothing.
Not a penny. Not a penny.
No, nothing.
Because their money was gained by theft. Taxation is theft, and that is bloody clear. But if you're a smart bastard, you can sell them crap. Then you do that. When I had my party meetings in Australia, and we had candidates in Australia and New Zealand, but the stupid McGillicuddies came along and spoiled it all by making out that it's all fun. It's not all fun. You've got to have some sense behind it. But they were all run by the Greens, anyway, it turns out.
Right.
So they went straight from being fun-loving McGillicuddy into the Green activists in the bloody government.
Right.
Who were the most brutal communists of all, the bloody lot of them. Anyway, let's get back to the topic. That with these candidates, we actually charge to come into our party meetings. They're so good you have to pay to come in. And we had music in there, and we had a band playing. They played on artificial limbs, instruments, legs, and things like that. I love that nonsense. I love the Goon Show. And if you look like nonsense, you're not human anymore. You've become a machine.
100%. Yeah. 100%.
So you pay to come in. Sell them T-shirts. Sell them wizard dolls. Sell them dolls they can pick pins into their enemies. Do anything you like, Sell them astrological charts. Do all this nonsense. I don't believe in that stuff, but people love it, and it works quite well to give you a sense of feeling important. If you know your star sign, you can mix up with this and that person, It gives you meaning, like religion does. But what meaning can you get from the Labour Party telling you everything you can allowed to do in your own house, or your friends and your children at school? That's not meaning.
No.
That's treating you like shit, and it is like that. And I truly hate it. I can't stand being treated like a slave by government that have taken their money by force. It's disgusting. It has to end. But who is heading that way? Any party you think of?
Yeah, well...
Maybe Republicans in America are a bit that way. They begin to say we can't trust the school system. They try to pull out United Nations. We get out of United Nations immediately. Get out of them right away. Then another thing I want to say a large army in New Zealand. A huge army. Well trained, marvellous discipline, great things, but with no intention of fighting.
Right.
But if someone invades, we might change our policy.
You're saying. Yeah, absolutely.
People love being in the army, and they love war too. And they have lovely phony wars, you do all their exercise. I just love that war stuff.
But you're big on the discipline and the structure, and I understand.
When you have a catastrophe like an earthquake, in they go straight away.
Yes.
Do a good job. Idiots here.
Yeah, 100%.
So that's a different. The idea of a huge army is a very good one.
Yeah. Oh, I get your point.
It goes with the monarchy too. The monarchy and the army have always been linked together. Only before agriculture, before we had the idea of farming at all, hunter-gatherers was the only time we didn't have an army and some sort of monarch. It has to go a long way back to find those times. So I'd like to go back to that, but it's a long way to go. I can get back to monarchy and the army, but getting back to the hunter-gatherers, maybe just for a few elite people who go into the woods and become hunters and fishers, and they're the masters. We regard them with awe. You live entirely away from the city. You have no government grant? No, not at all. What do you do? Oh, I go fishing and oh, master, this is a godlike being. Highest status in the land. Higher than the monarchy. Higher than the army, even. The old Fossica who hangs around and does a bit of for the fishing, for the hunting.
Yeah, brilliant.
Making them the heroes.
Yes, brilliant.
Because they mind their own business. Can you believe that? Minding your own business is so rare.
It is now. That's the thing. It is in the modern information age, and like you say, that. I mean, there's always that.
You're not getting a mask.
Oh,
I want to say healthy. Mark's, I keep saying, Mark's about your health. Oh,
you couldn't have that opinion, and that's been the sad thing over the last
we
couple of
know
years.
it.
Yes. Yeah.
The same with the global warming. It's all a farce. It's absolute nonsense. There could be some warming of the planet, a little bit, but the whole idea of declaring war on CO2, which is not poison, it's a very good thing it would have. The temperature is shifting, other reasons to do with the sun and the currents. No one's allowed to debate it. So you pick up these few ex-greenies who realise it was all a con, not much concerned over the others, and write green murder. The Greens are going to kill millions of people with their policies. Millions of people are going to die because they destroy many of the trade routes and the actual agriculture, because they'd rather pull the world down around their ears in the name of saving the planet than actually save the planet. They don't want to save the planet. They want to pull it down.
This is what's also come about, and specifically, it's been coming for a while, but it's specifically in the last few years where it's one of those topics, like you say, you just can't, you're not allowed to talk about it because you become instantly you're a right-wing conspiracy theorist.
Holocaust denier.
Yeah, that's
male chauvinist, toxic male.
Yes. All of those titles, you're exactly right.
But I don't care, you see, because I like being noticed.
Yep.
And they hate me, it makes me feel so important. Imagine I walk down the street in my pointed hat and I see those looks, especially in the early days, from fundamentalist Christians. When a fundamentalist Christian gets hold of it, I can assure you, they almost explode.
Yeah.
Now, every smart man lets his wife do the money stuff. He really should. He can't trust men with money.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
No, not at all.
If they are good money, then they're accountants.
Yeah.
Like Mayor for 4 years, or Gary Moore.
Oh, yeah.
They build this huge bureaucracy. I was talking about freedom and justice. What's what they actually do?
Yeah.
They love bureaucracy. They just love it. Yeah. But most women like bureaucracy too. But men should find bureaucracy absolutely terrifyingly awful and very dangerous.
Yeah, understand.
But they are. I mean, different story. You get in the middle, you're a top guy, the corporal look up to the sergeant, he looks up to the major, look up to all over the line.
Yeah, and so if people want to, I know we've talked about the fact that you've struggled to get your publicity and that out there, but if people want to know about you or want to understand how they vote for you, what they're voting for Mayor, where do they go? You've got a page on Facebook?
I've got articles, because at this stage no one's interested. They can't be. They're too frightened. They don't want to go near me.
Yeah,
right. So we need a movement to start after this election. It's obvious that it's fixed. I want to hold public meetings. They did this in 1968 at the universities to stop the Marxists taking over and smashing all the buildings. So I stopped it. We had this called this fun revolution.
Yeah.
Now, if we have meetings in Christchurch, and I'm the master of ceremonies, no chairman and no agenda. Two things. You must not have a chairman or an agenda. You let things come up like a born-again Christian meeting, and I have those Baptist meetings. They're a great way of getting their feelings out and saying how they feel. Yeah. And if you let go of your feelings, next thing you know, you start to become, you feel the same in there. You're not all, Now, what do we do about it? I don't go about it, and then some guy comes up, you shouldn't mention this stupid thing, or you do that. Good. They want to fight. They're not played. I'm the best bouncer you've ever met.
Gotcha.
I bounce them in the head.
Yeah.
They're all over the place. You'll find they have to leave. They can't handle any more insults from me. And I'm turning their words back on them. And that I've shown I can do it for 30, almost 50 years in the square. I've done that. Yes. No police, no armed guards, saying things that upset people enormously, especially extreme left-wingers and fundamentalist Christians. Yes. In the end, they just have to walk out. They can't handle the laughter that goes on around them. So I'm an excellent mental bounce, if you like. And this for me, you don't need to have bouncers except that type. And then, if I can keep the then they can, once they're into the mood, like they are when you relax, then they start saying what they really feel. Then stuff comes up. Then you say, now there are people in Christchurch who have been thrown out of their job for being too honest. City councillors, most city councillors who have been made redundant or thrown out or cancelled were too honest or too clever. Now, if you're a crook, you do not want an honest guy in your office. He's dangerous. He has to go. If you're incompetent, you don't want a smart guy in your office. He makes you look stupid, so he has to go. Yeah. This is Gresham's law, that bad money drives out good. We've got to get those people in council together and say, please, can you come back? You know what's got in the council. You've been doing it for years. Can you please help us out by suggesting ways to try and up the bloody wall? You'll know where their weak points are. How can we make them look absolute idiots over and over again until they leave?
Yes.
When they leave, because they're being laughed at non-stop, then the good guys can move in.
Yep, fair enough.
And your reward will not be money. You're going to get almost no money. You're going to get a medal.
Yep.
What do you want, a medal or the money? Now, the bad guys want the money.
Yes.
The good guys want to be going on the streets saying, I'm a city councillor, I've done this, I'm in charge of the drains, and so on. Good man. And then you form the hierarchies of skill that are needed.
Yep.
You have the chief drain mayor, pirates, and has a little signal like the British system. The number of different titles they get for every level, swan up, eagle, right, or it's looking at this, we're watching it, there's hundreds of them with levels of hierarchy and more gold stars and things, but not like the Mickey Mouse stuff in the dictatorships. These are traditional with nice emblems that go back hundreds of years, Oniswaki, Millipons. Just the garters, there's no higher order than the garter. And that was given recently to a woman ordered a garter, and she was in the black room. What? And therefore, this is not the important thing. We don't care about race and colour. If you've earned it, you get it, not otherwise.
Yes. Yep, absolutely. Hey, look, we've gone almost a bit over 3/4 of an hour. Actually.
Yeah,
That's
no,
gone.
terrible talk.
That's
interesting
good.
stuff. It's interesting stuff.
Yeah,
Who else could you talk like this?
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. Was it? I really
Because
have.
I know what's going on.
Yes.
Who else does?
Exactly.
Because wizard means wise man.
Yes, that's brilliant. It's been awesome to talk with you in detail. I've really loved hearing what you've had to say.
The main thing is I know what to do.
Yep.
Others are going to complain. I know exactly what we can do. And I'm going
Excellent.
to try and do it in the next 2 years. This is my swan song.
Brilliant.
My last few years.
Brilliant. I'm glad to hear that. So we'll chuck up some more details in the description of the video when we get it up on Facebook. I'll let you know by email as well where to find it all and YouTube and all that.
And I hope your listeners have enjoyed hearing something different from a different sort of person.
Absolutely. We're all about that. We're all about freedom of speech.
Main thing is, don't complain how bad it is. Do something about it.
Yes, absolutely. That's been awesome. Awesome to meet you.
No, thanks, you.
Excellent. Thanks, team. Chuck a comment down below or share these links around. If you found this entertaining, get amongst the conversation. It's been awesome hanging out with one of the legends of Christchurch and New Zealand. But for now, team, stay safe, stay free, and we'll see you again real soon. Excellent. That was us.
Yeah, there we go. Right?
Yeah, that's
You were cut
just on 3.